All right. So I'm recording now.
Okay. Let's do it. Are we doing something here?
I'm waiting for you.
Oh, I wasn't able to figure it out.
You didn't say.
Right
Okay. Okay. So here's what's gonna happen, guys. I'm gonna say 3, and then go right into welcome to What Up to Nerd. Okay. Cool.
Who's doing welcome to?
Okay. Well, normally I say hello and welcome to What Up, and you say, Kevin, pointing over you, to Nerd.
And then JoJo should say, with JoJo.
And we're welcoming JoJo. Well, yeah, hold on. I kind of want to make that somewhat interesting.
That's fun. It'll just make it off the cuff.
Well, just okay.
It'll be funny.
It'll be funny.
Make it funny, JoJo. No pressure.
All right, ready?
Just make it be like. Well, okay, we'll just go silent for a second, and then what if we look down, or like, where's JoJo on your screen?
You are caring so much about this, but you normally never. You're just fucking go. So it's interesting to hear you.
Okay, just do it.
All right, ready? Here we go. All right, 3. Hello and welcome to an episode of One Up
to Nerd.
And we're joined today by JoJo.
Ricky's playing host.
Say hello, JoJo.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, JoJo.
Yeah, JoJo is one of my closest friends, and he's joining us on the show. He's our first ever guest and sort of part of the team, right?
Yeah, it took us a pandemic to make it happen.
Hey, that's pretty cool. I'll take it. I'll take a win. That's a win,
yeah.
Right? So, a lot has happened in the last month, and I'm excited because for many reasons, not only just Star Wars, but some major stuff out of there, tons of games. But I'm actually have the recording with the right equipment, which is super cool. And
last episode was a little bit.
I couldn't even listen to the last one. It was so bad. I normally listen to each episode like 2, 3, 4 sometimes. And just the quality of my own voice just was disgusting. So I just set that one aside. But
it's like real life, right?
It was
so,
possible.
but who is?
I listened to it.
Did you? Good for you. I have written down though. Who is this Joe of Joes? JoJo. So I kind of wanted to give you a chance to talk. Say what do you nerd out on? Right?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of similar to you guys. I not as much of the comic book Star Wars stuff. Well, definitely not any.
I don't think
Star
anybody's
Wars.
as much Star Wars stuff as Frankie.
No one. But I play a lot of games. First-person shooters, party games, multiplayer, competitive games.
What's a party game that you're playing or that you like to play?
So right now, obviously like Mario Party, stuff like that. But I've been playing with this game called Pummel Party on Steam. You can get up to 10 people. It's a really good quarantine game. So me and my friends have been doing that. Some board games, Settlers of Catan, doing some RPG stuff like City of Mist.
Which we'll talk
about later.
Yeah.
Frankie's amazing City of misting.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but thank you. Well,
But
cool.
mainly been playing Rocket League is one of my main, I guess, games right now.
Nice. Very cool. Well, we're excited to have you on the show. If you're tuning in to One Up to Nerd, One Up to Nerd is a podcast, and we put stuff out on YouTube. Not much, but hopefully more in the future. It's been our sort of nerd journey, right? Kevin and I have started this.
It has definitely been our nerd journey,
right? Which I've for the most part
funneled our nerd through One Up.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's cool to kind of share it with everybody, but it's really been a personal journey for me.
Yeah.
I mean, big time, right?
Yeah. We were going to have JoJo on 2 episodes ago, and you guys bought a bunch of new equipment. We were trying to get it all set up. Couldn't quite get it figured out. We had to pull the parachute on JoJo, which sucked. And then we just kind of went off and did that Zoom call sort of off the cuff. The last one that was episode 21. And now we're on episode 22.
22. Almost 2 years worth of content.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. I think there's some of my most memorable episodes where the Endgame episode a year ago.
Yeah.
Some of those first early ones too were pretty enjoyable.
So JoJo, what's been your nerd journey? Tell us, like, how did you get started? What was your introduction? When did you first sort of embrace your inner nerd?
I think it had to have been my uncle used to take me to these like card collecting conventions.
Oh, cool.
So, just mainly collecting these Marvel cards that I still have somewhere in boxes behind me. Kind of just growing up watching Saturday morning cartoons, etc., and then kind of more transferring into like the video thing where I more keep in touch. Probably Sonic CD. I don't know what year that was. Like I was lucky enough for like when my mom had her own business, we had a personal like family computer, so I was playing like old PC games on that. But being able to play like the NES when I was like a literal baby. SNES.
We're laughing because Kevin and I mean, like we were what? I mean, that puts us at least 6 years in front of that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about the age gap between us, I think. So, and my brother playing a little, owning a Sega Genesis, playing, like I said, Sonic was a big part of my childhood.
Sonic
less so
mine
part of my
too.
adulthood. But
did you see the movie?
No.
Oh.
I mean, after all,
it had really good ratings.
Oh, you saw it, Kevin?
No, I said it had good ratings.
Oh, yeah. After they redid the whole thing.
Keep going, JoJo. What were you saying?
But yeah, then eventually, like, I guess like going to like cyber cafes when I was in like late elementary school and just playing Counter-Strike 1.6 and getting these LANs going together with all my like close friends, and then jumping into World of Warcraft and played that for like 7 or 8 years, I feel.
Yeah. What PC cafe or PC bong did you go to?
It was called Cyberworld over here.
World, yeah.
Oh yeah, man! I used to pull quarters out of my couch and go over there.
Yeah.
And what was that? Was that Nickel?
Nickel was on the other side. Yeah.
That place was cool until it wasn't.
Hey, Nickel's still cool. My brother-in-law takes my nephew over to the.
It's still there.
There's one in like Anaheim, a little harbor or something.
No, that one kind of got a little sketch there towards the end.
Oh, I'm sure it did.
Yeah.
It's nickel.
And also,
it's games for a nickel. It's gonna get sketch.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. I mean, JoJo, I remember hanging out with your brother and you playing like all kinds of games in your room. You'd kind of poke your head out and see what sort of shenanigans we were up to, but then you'd be back playing games and stuff like that. And that was my introduction to JoJo as a nerd.
Tell us what kind of shenanigans were Frankie and your brother getting into.
That's a different podcast for a different time. But
personal. Is that not a nerd story? You weren't doing anything nerdy?
Josh wasn't a nerd. He was, it was all about music and going to shows and stuff. Anyways,
hey, you can be a nerd.
Well, anyways, so with the so with JoJo now on the show, we have a ton of great stuff to talk about, and JoJo's. I'm excited to hear what JoJo has to say about some of these different things, and he's participating in some of the stuff that we're going to talk about, like the City of Mist, which he already did mention. So it'll be fun to get his point of view. Actually, Kevin and all three of us here on the show are partaking in that, so it's kind of fun to.
And you've been doing a great job getting that going and facilitating that. It's been really fun.
Yeah, but the first thing on our agenda is these Fortnite concerts.
Oh yeah.
And so Kevin, you're the one that put it down, so I don't really know much about it.
And I couldn't even tell you who the artist was that performed, but basically Epic hosted a live concert in Fortnite. And there was over, I think, 12 million people participated and were watching sort of live this, digital concert unfold. And I don't know how long it was, but it made waves. And it was really, I saw some of the video. It was really quite impressive what they
was. It Travis Scott?
Yeah, it was Travis Scott.
Yeah. JoJo, did you have any or see anything about that, or have any friends that kind of watched that or not?
I watch someone stream it, you know.
Yeah.
I don't play Fortnite, but it's really cool what Epic does sometimes with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like they don't really mind either breaking their game or just doing these very, very off the cuff stuff to engage their player base, which like when you execute it as well as they did that concert, it's no wonder why they have so many players, despite what I think is like a not great game. Like, I think what they do with it is very cool.
Yeah.
Is it not a great game because it's not your type of game, or is it you just don't think it's a good game? Okay, got it.
I know there's a reason why so many people play it. Yeah. I just think that like the shooting's not tight enough.
I think it was a better game when it first launched, in my opinion, to me. If Kevin, if you remember, huh?
You being a Fortnite hipster?
Fortnite OG. I mean, I was there at the front lines playing this single player before they even introduced the battle royale, and that is on the show. That is on the show. Go back and watch that shit.
He's waiting for Fortnite Classic to come out.
That's right. It was so cool because it was kind of like a tower defense shooter where they were.
It was a survival game.
Huh?
It was a survival game.
Yeah. It just never got the steam, right? And then it was battle royale, and everyone just went in that direction.
Yeah,
which is understandable. But yeah, I saw some headlines for the Travis Scott concert, and it looked gnarly because it stopped being a game, right? You just went and watched it.
What?
And it stopped being a game.
We lost him. The internet.
Frankie. Bro, that's Frankie. Are you there?
I mean, they were able to play.
Hello? You got me?
He's had to date. He's back. Maybe not.
Your connection isn't stable.
Yeah.
Fuck this.
Well, I guess we can keep talking, and Frankie will join us when he can join. So the thing for me that I started to see on my LinkedIn and my professional feed was a lot of people start to talk about the digital avatar future, and then I saw something about Grimes, and I don't follow Grimes, who's with Elon Musk right now, but she's like a singer and a artist of some sort. She has some digital avatar presence that she's super known for, and I've never heard of that before. So
I don't know if I know what that means, like a digital avatar in the sense like of her.
So it's a digital persona that is like what she, I guess, does as social media. She does it through her digital persona.
Okay, I think I did see that. I don't know if it's like well established or anything. It's like she had some like graphic artists draw something up.
Yeah.
Is there something more to this digital avatar that where we're sort of getting away from our normal, like, is it like that fake world kind of thing?
Well, it's you being able to represent yourself as artistically and creatively and visually however you want, and basically
from a digital standpoint.
Yeah, well, like what are we now on with everything social media, right? Like we are a digital entity of some sort. Right. So like you could present yourself as a digital avatar if you could do it. And
right. I think a lot of people, if you sort of categorize what people try to do through some of these social medias like Instagram, is they try to use that as like Instagram is sort of the highlight of your life, right? So in terms of like instead of a like avatar that's a reflection of something artistically other than the highlight of yourself, there seems to be that there would be a platform to distribute your artistic avatar self. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but that it's more augmented reality. So like you're somewhere and you're showing there as your avatar, not yourself.
It sounds very Ready Player One to me. Very, very, very Oasis.
I think it's going to be the next trend. It's going to get pretty big.
So are we just building up to an online world that is You think so?
No, absolutely. I mean, that's what the Epic founder, his name is passing me by. He just had some big conversation, and article, and media news headline about, like, basically that they're trying to build some crazy large online world of some sort,
where you actually could live.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like
in a digital
multiverse of some sort. Yeah.
Are you talking about like a Second Life type of thing, or?
Yeah, that's what I keep kind of hearing.
Let me find the article.
Because I mean, I know with Grimes, it's like not established. At least I don't understand the intention of it is. You know?
Yeah. It's interesting that like a pandemic could lead to an online concert, which would then lead to this kind of conversation, though, right?
Well,
like
they had this in development for a while. This wasn't just like, hey, let's do this now that the pandemic happened. Like, this is something they've been trying to do.
Well, I mean, I get that, but what did you say?
Like what some artists are doing or bands are doing with the software that's they're playing at separate corners of the U.S. and are able to play a song concurrently through software that helps them, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was watching like the live sing-along, right? Last night, the Disney sing-along, but all that stuff was previously recorded, you know? So, or at least that's the way it seemed, or that's the way I, as my, daughter was singing it, I'm thinking to myself, like, this was already recorded, So,
so here's his quote is the goal, Sweeney says, is to build a virtual social world that's something like a metaverse.
A metaverse, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to. I mean, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see how it develops, and especially as we're forced to.
I mean, it could give us privacy.
Huh?
That it could give us privacy.
Well, in my mind, I'm thinking, as some choose and some, feel forced to stay at home while we get through all this, these things will develop faster, right? It gives us an opportunity to gain perspective into these sort of meta ideas and these sort of obscure concepts of what our lives may be like online here in the near future. It could be less than 5 years from now that we're looking at what that really looks like, an online universe that we're spending a lot of time operating in. So sounds cool. I'll move on to Star Wars because I could always move on to Star Wars. We just celebrated May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. May the 4th be with you.
Or this is the May.
Or yeah, it's gonna be. Oh, that thing you have that changed the voice would be perfect for that.
What do you want me to do?
I don't know.
The May. This is the May.
How do I do this? This is the May.
It's gonna be May. Say that within that voice. It's gonna be May.
It's gonna be May.
How did you get this is the May?
It's the May from Mandalorian.
From NSYNC.
No, this is the way.
This is the way. Oh.
But this. I was May. Instead of
I didn't even put them together.
Revenge of the Sith or
Kevin. I don't know. Kevin's gotten some purple over there. That's really tasty.
Taste. No, I saw someone posted on Facebook and I thought it was hysterical.
So May the 4th, Revenge of the 5th, now Return of the 6th. Are you guys pumped for what they just announced? Because I'm super excited. Did you guys know?
I mean, I know. I'm just
JoJo, spoil it, please. What is he gonna say?
I'm assuming he's talking about Taika Waititi.
Right, Taika Waititi. So Taika Waititi, right, and now is officially announced to be.
Tell us who that is first.
Okay, he directed Thor Ragnarok, right? So Thor Ragnarok. He's doing Thor: Love and Thunder. He did Jojo Rabbit. Jojo Rabbit, yeah. Yeah. He's just he did 2 episodes of Mandalorian season 1. He did the finale. He also did episode, I believe, 3, which was the one where he basically says "fuck you," right? The Mandalorian. when they were going to take the baby, right? And then he's going out of the town, and there's the big shootout, and then the other Mandalorians fly in, and then he's out on the ship, and the Mandalorian off to the side like salutes. He says, "I gotta give me one of those." Yeah, that's the episode he did. And if you talk to, in the sort of water cooler conversations that I've had with most people, is that he's just amazing.
Yeah. I'm watching that What We Do in the Shadows, which is another comedy he did. Everything he touches seems to be good. And if there's any Star Wars movie that I want to watch, it's going to be one directed by him.
Right.
So what's the film he's doing?
Well, that hasn't been announced yet.
That's an OG film, though.
What do you mean it's an OG film?
Well, like they're not doing any more of the Skywalker franchise.
Right. So that's kind of the thought, is where do the films go? Where do we go after Skywalker? Does that mean we're not following Rey at all? I don't know. Who knows? I personally want to see it go somewhere in the future, the far future, 1,000 years from where we left off. Something that it really puts the past to bed.
I want to go further than the past.
You want to go further than the past? What do you mean?
Yeah. I don't know. Before, like, I want to go before Knights of the Old Republic.
You want to go backwards?
Yeah, I want to go way backwards.
See, okay,
let's have the tiebreakers. We've talked about this before. JoJo, where do you want to see? Tell us what you want to see.
Yeah.
I don't. If I wanted to, and if there's a way for them to establish a world by doing a very, very big prequel that helped a bunch of world building, kind of bring the movies don't do a good job at building. You have to view all these other types of media to kind of get a sense of what Star Wars actually is. And hence why, and I'm not trying to be negative or a hipster about it, but hence why I don't really care about the films of Star Wars.
Right. Well,
The Mandalorian was good, but it had its problems. And I think a lot of what they do feel so scattered for a franchise that is such notoriety and so much money behind it. It's insane to me that they've taken this long to do anything with it.
Right.
How do you respond, Frankie?
I don't disagree with them. Look at Kevin. You sent me a picture. We were having we were bantering back and forth via text, and you sent me a picture. It was George R.R. Martin and George Lucas. It was referencing just Game of Thrones and Star Wars, and you were like, "What is the symbol? What can you tell me about both of these images?" And I think it was in contrast to my previous comments about Game of Thrones being overrated. And I said that about both Star Wars and Game of Thrones to your comment, and I said they're both overrated. And I think that blew you away because you were like, "Well, how could you say that about Star Wars? That's me, right? Why would I say it?" And I think there's a good amount of self.
No, you've been really critical of Lucas.
Well, yeah, but I'm self-aware. I'm self-aware that this is a franchise that has a lot of problems. It's overrated, but you know what? As a fan, I'm blind to some of these oversights, and some of these things that it lacks because I love it so much, and that's fair. That I think that's a lot of fans of whatever genre or whatever franchise it is will have that propensity, and it's important to be self-aware. But to JoJo's comments, I think what I'm really happy about and what I saw in the episodic documentary that's coming out about The Mandalorian is that Favreau and David Filoni, who really don't have much involvement in the films, if any at all, are putting it together. They're putting it together via Mandalorian. And that I think is starting to come out as we've now casted Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, which is fucking huge news. Beep it, which is Kevin, is huge news. Because really, with the finale of Clone Wars coming out on May the 4th, we really got to see Order 66 from a different perspective. Huh?
This just happened?
Yeah, so the lost season of the Clone Wars came out, had been releasing on Fridays, and it's on Disney Plus now. But really, you could just watch episode 9, 10, 11, and 12 of that final season, and that's all you need. It was stunning. It was super good. And it really focused and featured Ahsoka and Commander Rex, which Tamara Morrison, who played Jango Fett in the prequels. He's like the clone that all the clones are based off of.
Yeah.
He is confirmed to be coming back as Boba Fett in season 2 of Mandalorian. That. So you got Boba Fett, you got Ahsoka coming back for season 2. You got Baby Yoda. You got all these 3 characters. You got Dan Djarin, butchering his name. And my thought is that Tamara Morrison as Boba Fett will also be in the show as Commander X, which would be super cool. So there's just so much awesome being built around Mandalorian that I feel like is going to then transcend into film and cinema.
So, but JoJo, you were saying that that Mandalorian doesn't do a good job of world building, or was that your criticism of the whole sort of Star Wars universe and media before that? But that one was pretty good.
No, I was saying that. Well, it's not that it doesn't do world building. I just thought that was one of the best stints of anything they've done.
Got it.
Compared to all of the, my brother and I've heard Frankie and all you guys talk about like these cool characters that have these rich backstories.
Mm-hmm.
It's already been established, whether it be through literature, certain video games that are supposedly canon, but they're underutilized, so we can go see Luke Skywalker do whatever still.
Right.
And we're the 3rd trilogy into the series of the film franchise. And I mean, and honestly, they have such a wealth of already written material behind them that could be translated to the film or incorporated within. Right. It seems really like even within because they've gone through a trilogy structure for all 9 films, not including the
Rogue One off. Or was Rogue One and the Han Solo?
And Solo. But they don't actually utilize the trilogy structure to tell a whole cohesive story. At least definitely not the last 3, which I feel like it's just more maybe recency bias, but.
I think that's.
You're saying the last 3 don't connect well with the first 6?
I feel like the last 3 don't connect well as one cohesive trilogy story.
Oh yeah.
They just released 3 movies.
That was one of your biggest criticisms, right, Frankie?
Well, I think the Last Jedi, directed by Rian Johnson, I think what he did was really fractured that story.
Yeah,
and
he really hour-long space battle.
I mean, just the narrative of the Luke Skywalker narrative really took a turn that was hard to come back from, and then to go into the sort of 3rd act of this trilogy without really identifying who the villain was. It wasn't until we got the trailer for The Last Skywalker or The Rise of Skywalker, we're hearing the Emperor's laugh. And then it was very like, okay, we have a lot of work to do in a short period of time to like establish our new villain, make it like, how do we, getting our heroes and our heroines to like engage in that villain and then be the heroes that we want them to be. It was a stretch. It was really hard. I mean, I gave J.J. Abrams a lot of credit for doing the job that he did with Rise of Skywalker. I think he had a tall mountain to climb with what was given to him after.
So where is season 2 gonna go with the Mandalorian? Do you think what's the I don't even know what the timeline is exactly on that. Where does it take place relative to the
Mandalorian takes place after the fall of the Empire, right? So
got it.
It'll be if Ahsoka coming back is an enormous thing, because if you watch Star Wars Rebels, she leaves. I mean, she goes to someplace possibly in another galaxy. The fact that she returns means that she's completed that journey, which is huge. I know that's kind of vague, but
that's what you're really excited to see.
I'm stoked. I there's a lot of story to tell, and I think Ahsoka and Din Djarin are. But I'm messing that up. These are guys that we're going to be anchoring our Star Wars stories to for quite some time, and especially possibly Ezra, who was the main hero and new Jedi in Rebels and where he went and all that stuff like that. So anyways, good stuff from Star Wars. It was a great May the 4th, despite being in quarantine. I'm super happy that with all the new stuff, Taika Waititi, and Star Wars Celebration still is not canceled yet. So that's at the Anaheim Convention Center mid-August. So Comic-Con late July is canceled, but Star Wars Celebration holding out. We'll see what happens. Okay. Kevin, you put down pro athletes streaming and some of the stuff that's going on in that realm of esports.
Yeah, I mean, this whole pandemic has changed the way that some of our biggest media properties do work, right? And all of our athletes were certainly part of that group affected, right? They're not able to play. Stadiums aren't being filled, and so what you saw when this all went down was a very quick sort of flocking of all these different personalities from all the sports leagues, like flocking to play games, and they're huge gamers because they're on the road all the time, and so you just started seeing all these pro athletes streaming. Anderson Silva, the UFC fighter, he is now streaming. He's got his own Twitch channel, but
that's cool.
Yeah, I told that to Christy, and she was like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "You remember the guy that like snapped his leg on one of the fights?" She's like, "Oh yeah." So he's pretty funny guy. I watched some of the videos he put out, but the other part of it is like they're also competing, which is if you're a streamer, you're playing for fun and you maybe have a personality about it, but when you're competing, you're yourself. And yeah, a NASCAR driver is no longer a NASCAR driver for some things that he said while racing in a live stream of an esport NASCAR race.
So it's they're taking like NASCAR drivers and having them play NASCAR 2020,
yeah, whatever,
and then streaming it, right? Is that
yeah? And they're streaming it. They were all in their houses, I think, and just like playing and racing, and
and he's playing full on, and then just drops a racial slur.
Well, that was this case, yeah, which is unacceptable, right? Like there's part of that's okay, but it's something that a lot of I would say nerd culture that is been in that space around streaming and competing online has a filter built in through years of people making those mistakes. So it was interesting to see the newcomers sort of make those mistakes.
Yeah, I think there's it's interesting when people, when like these professional athletes, when they're on the court, when they're driving the cars, right? They're speaking a certain language.
Yeah, you can't
that they're used to speaking, right? And now they have to be cognizant in a completely different way.
Yeah. Well, and they don't have their controls. They're not in their environment. They don't have like the walkie systems, right? Or they don't like, they can't talk behind their baseball glove when they're talking shit to whoever.
Right.
It's like in hockey, like sometimes the mic will pick up what the players are saying out on the ice, and like it always goes up on Reddit the next day of just like whatever they said. And
yeah,
I mean we're all recorded so much, and when you're on stream, who knows how long you're playing, 3 or 4 hours. A lot of people let their guard down and talk how they would normally speak.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting though. Like the idea of being recorded for that long, especially like in a chair. Just you playing a game, conversating with tons of people, because there's the streamers, there's the people watching the streams, there's the people like you're playing with too, so there's like a lot going on, a lot of variables there.
Yeah, it's a lot to handle.
There's a social responsibility to just like kind of grow the fuck up though, right? And understanding like there's certain types of language that no matter what arena, no matter what venue, no matter how it's being distributed, like there's certain language that isn't permissible in our society and in our culture anymore. And no, like I have on our notes, like no one's got time for that. Like you're gonna say stuff like that, you're gonna get fired. You're gonna lose your job.
But I think to your point, there's people that don't necessarily like they have different ways of interacting with the camera and interacting, with what is it, locker room talk, right? Like
right.
That was effectively that coming out. But it's tough, right?
That's a whole other story.
It's not for everybody. Not everybody has the capability.
What's interesting though, Kevin, you were actually picking up food at the restaurant. You might remember it was kind of like some sunset time. It was dinner, right? And you were picking up food, and
it was 4 o'clock.
Well, okay, whatever. And I remember there was the NASCAR. I mean, it wasn't this one in question, but they were playing that NASCAR game, and it was indistinguishable.
Well, from 20 feet away, like 30 feet away.
It was in this. I could not. I at first glance, just looking up, like, oh, okay, like I thought it was just NASCAR on the screen. I did not know that I was watching a video game. Now
imagine that, like the NASCAR racers actually racing digitally through the esport, and then the NASCAR racers having their own digital avatar that's not them, and there's some like
right. Well, that's the whole premise of like the first challenge in Ready Player One is a car race, right?
Yep.
So interesting. That I'm very curious to see where that goes. I mean, is this just a segue to a huge growth phase in esports? Are we seeing that right now, Kevin? Do you know?
Esports is gaming. Gaming is growing astronomically,
but the competitive aspect of esports.
Yeah, no. Washington Post put out an article a couple years ago that was like ages 14 to 21. 75% of ages 14 to 21 play and/or watch competitive games in esports, which is just significant. Like that's only competitive games. So it is like based on that statistic, it feels by and large the most significant game genre that's in existence.
It's interesting because I'm gravitating towards non-competitive right now.
Yeah,
like in these like city builders. That's another. I mean, I have that down.
I mean that's what happens when you get old.
I just want to build my little city and watch my little people like gather water and take it to the water well and shit. Yeah, that is kind of what's happening right now.
Does it sound like Frankie's getting old?
Meanwhile, I'm like, spell break, battle mage, let's bring it on.
All I gotta say is JoJo and I are playing Rocket League.
Yeah, you guys totally should. So JoJo and Kevin, you guys are both participating in my City of Mist campaign.
Yeah.
And JoJo, let's go start with you. Like how has been your City of Mist experience? I've been the only person to like DM a City of Mist game, so it all kind of comes from that perspective of what you're getting from me. But what do you like? What do you don't like? What do you tell us about your character too?
So I'm playing a guy named Rhett Lancer. He's a private eye. His mythos is Gambit from the X-Men. So he's able to kinetically charge items and use those in various ways to mainly he's a hothead, so he mainly tries to go beat down and is not always successful. And I think that right there is the funniest.
It is. That is.
Because, we've been sitting around, and I think our normal table is about 5 people, and there's some time to think and craft this story of how I want this to go. And then I have to create addendums of, well, if this fails, what am I going to try to do? If this fails, and for every step, and to make it sound fun for hopefully everyone. Yeah. And I think that's why I like City of Mist, because you have to be on your toes. And yes, there is a little bit of time between your turn to craft it, but there's been times where you've called on me and I'm just like, I don't know what I want. I just don't know. And and like it's flexing that improv muscle that I don't ever do. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
It's been a challenge for me. Like that's not a muscle that I've ever really used. And the the social aspect of it is difficult. I made my character to be like an antique shop owner and hermit who's not supposed to be like a social setting, and I'm like, well, how am I supposed to play this and still be a part of the experience? But I think the way that you've crafted this campaign, Frankie, has allowed that to still be like it's forced, right? Like, okay, I'm going to go along with it and go see and be a part of that story, which I'm finding a lot more fun than I expected.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, I feel like my job is to push the story, right? Like, if you kind of keep like, oh, I'm going to stay in my shop and I'm going to like study up on antiques. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You can do that. And like when you do that, I will grant you certain points to like your logos. That's your logo. So you're working on that. So you get a point to your logos, and it will improve that part of your character that might cause a fade and eventually crack of the mythos, which is a different thing. But eventually I'm going to keep throwing things at you to try to get you involved. And like, the more you decide to ignore those, there's a cause and effect. So I'm glad you guys are both liking it. Right now it's called, I think I'm just calling it the Truth Campaign. And right now, both JoJo as Rhett Lancer and Kevin as
Sebastian Bonaparte.
Sebastian Bonaparte are they're deeply entangled in this opera that one of my NPCs has just been murdered. And you guys will have to stay tuned to see sort of how that all unfolds. I literally cut it off. There's 10 people in this campaign. And after about an hour, my brain is going in so many different directions. And it's not in person for me to be like, I need to take a leak.
Yeah.
I need to pee. I need to like gather myself intellectually and come back and continue on. So when it's like a Zoom session, it's an hour and I got to go. I'm tired. I'm exhausted.
Like JoJo was saying, like it's also difficult to pay attention for that long because it's also like everybody is in wherever space they're in, and it's you don't have the same liveliness to the social interaction because it's like we've got whatever we've got around us, right? That's and we can't be having side conversations because we have to be listening to what's happening, and that's
right.
Tough for that length of time. But
yeah, and I think
keeping everybody on track.
Thank you. I'm trying really hard. With that many people, it is definitely the challenge, right?
You should go and take a story to like a convention and host a City of Mist campaign. I feel like.
Well, I mean, I've done the Dungeon Sundays at the restaurant. JoJo's done 2 of those, haven't you?
Oh no, 2 technically. Yeah, I forgot.
You did 2.
The first one I did was just me, Trevor, and
Oh yeah, with the dragon. Oh, and oh gosh, and with Cody, who was Rick Sanchez, as that was his mythos. Yeah. Oh my God, it was crazy. He was pulling out dark matter and throwing it at people, at like different kinds of, threw it at a dragon. It was, anyways. Well, yeah. I mean, you guys have been great, and I'm loving that, Kevin, you've been a part of it. JoJo, you've done a lot. You've gotten a lot more experience playing with me. In terms of like consistency and the gameplay, do you feel like you have a good amount of control over the environment? Because really, and the narrative that for your own self, because that's really like what's most important, right? Is you telling your own story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it does take practice to be like, there's been so many, like I said, about you asking me, well, what do you want to do? And right. I already got a call from a sergeant, and I am supposed to be heading to this bridge. And what do you mean? What do I got to do? I'm traveling to this bridge, and like sometimes you're like, when you're practicing, your mind goes to B, and then you get fixated on that point. It's like, well, technically you're giving me opportunity to fill in the midpoint there.
Right.
And take care of something, maybe prepare for something that I can involve later in the story. And having to sit down after my awkward moments of that and kind of
everybody has them.
And well, I'm your harshest critic. but just being able to kind of like, oh, this is what I could do. And like, and now in my off time, writing little notes of this is what I want Rhett to do when he has a chance. So I could build this character with everyone and see how that plays out. So like I have a notebook when I play now, and it's really fun to this character that I did not think I'd be continuing with initially when I first made him, because I remember I made him at the restaurant, like 10-15 minutes, has a very large backstory that I've like I like to play him now, you know. I wouldn't want to bring any of the other characters in yet.
You said something really interesting there, which I hadn't really thought about, but is I think why I'm enjoying it so much is you said you have to want to tell a story, right? And like that wasn't the lens through which I was looking at it, which is really that's a way better way to look at like what story do you want to tell with your character. That sounds fun. I don't know, I just never put that together with it.
City of Mist is so narrative driven. Really, I mean, like at that, like when the difference between, you know, maybe Dungeons and Dragons first and foremost is that specifically it's me, and it's my job not only is to tell the larger narrative, but is for me to tell, you know, is for me to kind of get with you guys and ask like what is that story that you want to tell? Like I was texting Dave, who plays he plays Mr. Taylor. And I was texting him like little questions, like, you know, let's talk a little bit more about like your mom and like your relationship with her. Like, you know, like what happened if we killed your mom? Like that'd be crazy. We could do a whole like Spider-Man Uncle Ben situation, you know, and what that would lead to. And I was like, well, and then we got into like, so Mr. Taylor, like, what's your first name? He's like, I don't want to tell you my first name. I'm like, no. Like, what is the first name? And he's like, no, like, I think that's part of my story. I was like, okay, cool. Like, let's make it so the other players don't know that name, but I feel like it's important for me as the DM to know that name, so that way I could use that, you know. And I've been meaning to break into those different conversations with everybody as we are in this larger group. That's a little bit more difficult, but you know, the design that I have for the future content is to break out into smaller groups, and then that way everybody has a little bit more of a feature and a little bit more of a spotlight on them to tell that story, even if it's like just you two and where your characters go, maybe together or maybe just one-on-ones. Like I've been really wanting to try that, is like what happens when just me and JoJo, me and Rhett go on a solo adventure together. What happens, you know? Maybe we break out off to the side and say, hey, let's build some NPCs together, and like maybe that's a villain that we like. I'll have that your character face down the road when you're least expect it, and then it's like, oh my god, I can't. And that's, I think, from the storytelling aspect, as a DM aspect, that's what I'm excited for. So, the next thing on my agenda, Kevin, you have some pretty exciting news in your life.
Let's talk games. We got to go here. I don't want to bore us.
Oh, come on. But okay. Maybe next time. Maybe next time.
At the end.
Oh, okay.
I moved it.
Tons of awesome games. JoJo, what are you playing besides Rocket League?
I mean, right now I'm playing Valorant a ton.
Okay, so that just popped up on my Twitch, and I was like, what is this? There's tons of people watching it. What is it?
It's similar to CSGO. It's really hard not to get the immediate vibe of how the game shoots and plays. It has skills of, it feels really clunky to say in the vein of Overwatch, but because most of the skills are utility. So each character has different, I think up to 3 skills. Like most of them are like either smokes, walls. There's a character that has a teleport. There's a character that has a flashbang. And they get used in a variety of ways to, you know, either gain advantage to push and then take a point, take better positioning to plant a spike on different points in the map. So it's very Counter-Strike terrorist, for, you know, the people are pushing in, trying to plant the spike and then defending that area, and then
site A, site B, site C.
Exactly. It's exactly that.
What why does it seem super popular right now?
The gunplay is fantastic.
Gunplay.
The gunplay.
What does that mean? I'm not like a first-person shooter.
And I when you shoot, it just you could see where the bullets are shooting. I know when I get a headshot like easily, not noise cue, visual cue. I don't feel like when I click it, it feels like it should. Is the best way I could describe it.
It's very responsive.
Yeah.
Low latency, high accuracy, all that stuff.
It's been a ton of fun as someone who's fallen, like, even though I got my roots in like 1.6, I've fallen off of CSGO, mainly because I didn't like holding these crazy sight lines. And then when I did, it felt like I wasn't playing enough to know the spray patterns of all the guns. And it's very specific, where this just like, it seems like it's a really easy game to pick up and has a very high, it's a difficult to master game. And I feel like that's what makes a really good competitive shoot, like any good competitive game.
JoJo's our shooter player here, because some of that lingo is not a language that I know very well.
Oh, really?
I mean, I'm not a shooter. I'm not a shooter player.
Yeah, that's true. I was gonna say like Counter-Strike was awesome when I used to play a lot of it, but I'm not a tac shooter fan anymore. It's not the games.
Not a tactical shooter.
No.
Like
that's what the style of like Counter-Strike and Valorant are. They're considered tactical shooters. They're a little bit slower pace, right? So like Modern Warfare tends to be one of the faster paced shooters. Battlefield is a little bit larger scale and less fast paced, and then the tactical shooters are more close quarters and quite a bit slower in terms of movement speed and how you're going about. You're more tactical in how you're playing the game, or the game is meant to be played.
So JoJo, are you playing in a team of 5, team of 4, team 3?
It's team of 5, yeah.
Team of 5.
So yeah, it's not as slow as a Counter-Strike because there are characters with movement abilities that allow you to like really rush onto a point, teleport into a new spot entirely.
So it's faster.
But I would say but it's still slow.
Marginally so, right?
Yeah, it's just like it's in bursts of speed. Like one character can dash like, 10, 15 feet, and it's just like that can get you through a choke. But like it's not like most characters are just walking in front of a lane of fire. It's not like a TF2 or even a Quake, like where you're having these people just bunny hop and get momentum and then keep that momentum as they go around the map.
So when you talk about the gunplay is the attractive element to the game, the responsiveness, how you understanding what did you see the word you used?
Spray pattern.
The spray patterns. Is that proprietary? Is that, or is that like, how does a developer like create those sort of designs? Can other game developers kind of take that? What is that attributed to? Kevin, you'd probably understand that better than I would, right?
Yeah, some of the technology is open source. Some of it is more well known than not, but a company like Riot is not necessarily doing any of those things. They're trying to develop it from the start because it's not, it's a competitive advantage, right? Like you don't make an MMO the same way that you make another MMO. There's common and shared practices, but otherwise, like, there's strategic differences in the way that they're trying to develop that game that are trying to address one thing or be more true to something. And in this case, based on what JoJo's saying, it is about that shooter feel and the way that the weapons respond and perhaps the way they animate and how accurate on an online game, which you're dealing with sort of real world physics in terms of latency and how fast people's connections are. There's a lot that goes into making that experience feel the way that it does.
Right.
And that's part of like a quality of the game developer. It's part of the values that studio has and what they're trying to accomplish and what they're capable of accomplishing, right? Like you've got to have a certain amount of talent on your bench to be able to pull off what Riot does.
Right. Valorant is the Riot shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard about that. I mean, is there a good amount of like motion capturing that's involved in that, or is it just like, or like we understand what the gun needs to look like, and we're just gonna like code it to, I don't know.
There's a lot of research that goes into like,
there is.
Like, yeah, I
well,
mean,
I'm sure, but
you got to storyboard it. You got to pull references. You got to know like stylistically what you're trying to create, the entire art feel of the game to be like. It's a ton of work.
JoJo, did you watch Mythic Quest?
No, I haven't.
Okay,
it's still
so
sitting in my notes.
God damn it. First, okay. Anyway, so in the first episode, there's the whole pretense of the episode is this shovel that they're trying to introduce into the world of Mythic Quest. And it was supposed to be this like just, you know, not important feature padded into this patch. And Kevin, I've kind of told you a little bit about the dialogues between the characters, but it goes so far as this, they go into motion capturing him like bludgeoning other characters with the shovel.
That's the way
huh?
So that's the way that they, like some companies and studios, depending on what kind of characters they're making, will do mocap.
Right. And so I just, I'm thinking about that in terms of these shooter games and the gunplay, which is seemingly a very important, characteristic to the games that I don't play. Right. So
Yeah.
I mean,
I think there's a difference between like something like a Valorant compared to almost like a PUBG where all the bullets are projectiles, and that's a game that really, when I first started, it made fighting someone in that game very fun. The stakes were really high, that plays into it, but that's more realistic, and they have some ragdoll physics that can go a little crazy, and where I don't know how much they were motion capturing, but like I'm sure that they have a way to do that. I don't know if, like, Valorant's animations aren't so fluid, but it's also in beta, like it's not.
Oh, is it in beta?
Yeah.
The young bucks here that work for me, they're playing Warzone. A lot of Warzone. Are you playing any Warzone?
Yeah.
They love that. They're all about it. They're basically saying that it's Battlefield though.
No, it is not. Stop it.
I mean, I'll tell them that you said that, but I'm just saying they're like, it's basically Battlefield.
Oh, it is so not Battlefield.
Are you playing Warzone?
Yeah, I'm playing a lot of Warzone.
Kevin just plays games and doesn't tell me about it.
Not to date you, Frankie, but like saying Warzone is Battlefield is like what I would tell my dad just so I can give it like a 10-15 second explanation,
Wow.
There it is, JoJo. There it is.
There's a lot of
JoJo rags on me a lot, by the way. Like in the other groups, he does quite a bit of rousing. Does.
That's a good one. I wouldn't be that harsh. Battlefield is still current. It's just a different scale of game, right?
I was doing that.
It's a different game.
Tell me. Okay, so explain it to me in the not like your, dad who doesn't know anything about it way.
What, Warzone or Battlefield?
Warzone.
I mean, it's so I mentioned Modern Warfare. So Modern Warfare, Warzone. It's one of the Call of Duty is one of the biggest war gaming franchises that there is, if not the biggest. I don't know.
Right.
And so it's more fast paced. Is it action FPS? Like I don't actually know how to define.
Yeah, because it's vehicles, right?
I mean, it's a battle royale. I mean, it's
well,
one of those.
Warzone has a battle royale mode, but Call of Duty is not.
No.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it would just be considered. It's not a type. I think it's just. I wouldn't even know the classification.
So, anyways, it's faster paced. It's more realistic. Maybe closer to simulation in terms of like the rules of a game. Right, you've got arcade on one side and simulation on the other in terms of how realistic a game is.
Mm-hmm.
So then they have their story mode and their campaign, which was pretty. It was a lot of fun. It's highly cinematic. Single player experience, and then what makes Call of Duty popular is the multiplayer modes, which are all they've got a lot of really good map design, and then they have the battle royale game mode. So and that is very similar to Fortnite and PUBG and every other battle royale game mode. But Battlefield is about vehicles in these larger campaign style maps. So I guess like if you consider Battle Royale a campaign style experience, like sure, it could be like that.
I don't know. It's not really a genre that shooters in general isn't really a genre that I have a lot of experience in. So
I suck at them. Like some of them I still enjoy. I'm not very good at them.
I mean, same. I don't have enough time to implement in one game. Well, and I have game ADD. I play too many, and so I'm not able to master any of the
suffer from that. Me too. Well, Kevin, what are you playing like most of right now?
TFT. It's something I can play passively. Auto chess. It's Riot's League of Legends auto chess, basically.
Right.
It's just something I can play casually while I'm working or just trying to think about something. It's, every 30 seconds or 40 seconds there's a turn. Otherwise, like, there's not a whole lot going on.
I found that game to be remarkably more complex though than just
there's a learning curve for sure.
Yeah, and I was getting my ass kicked a lot. Yeah. So it was like, whatever.
I mean, that doesn't seem uncommon.
Does that game
I know. That's why I moved to City Builders. I don't there's no conflict. Well, okay, so I'll go into that. I am playing this End Zone, A World Apart. I got, there's a couple YouTube channels that keep popping up, and I keep watching their content, and it's like these cool looking indie games with, and a couple of them being these city builders, and I kind of pulled the trigger on this game, End Zone World Apart. I'm really enjoying it. Graphics are fun. Gameplay is fun. It's young. It's new. They just released a patch that fixed a lot of shit. You get to a certain point and it just would crap out on you, like acid rain, done. What happens is you can't build enough. You can't make enough protective wear to support your population. So then your population goes sterile.
Just like life.
Just like real life, right? So then you have people dying, you don't have babies, and then all of a sudden, you have this huge city with enormous infrastructure that has to be supported, and your population just starts to dwindle. It's what I like about it, and this is so weird because I hate puzzles, but it's very in the vein of a puzzle, right? You have to distribute your workers through different roles. And those, you have to kind of keep moving them around. You have to kind of keep shuffling them around. The most important three aspects is you need people to build the shit, and then you need food and water. And then sort of everything stems off that. You can build an expedition hut or whatever building, and then send people out on expeditions to gather medical supplies, new ones, new antibiotics. You can send them out to gather different raw materials, different seeds. That's a big one, right? So you have so you can only plant one crop, and then one from an orchard, right? Like an apple or whatever. But then you do these expeditions, and you come back and now you can grow a wheat from your fields. So then once you can grow the wheat, then you can build the pub. Once you get the pub, then you can brew the beer, right? And that makes people happy.
Sounds like there was a game I played that was on Steam called The War Is Mine, which was a really cool indie game. And then also Stardew Valley.
What's it called?
Stardew Valley. You never heard of Stardew Valley?
You
should play Stardew Valley.
Super chill.
Valley?
Stardew Valley.
Okay.
It's a single game developer that worked on this game for 4 years, and it is the coolest, most relaxed. It's very Nintendo-esque, I would say.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyways, keep going. You've been telling me about this game, and it sounds super interesting. I've been really enjoying it.
I've worked my way up to a population of about 138, 140, and then I lost it. And I'll tell you, what I've found has been a better tactic is you could pause it. You go normal speed, 1.5 speed, 2 times speed. going 2 times speed is you end up working in like this reactionary mode. Like this is bad. Okay, fix that thing that's bad. This is bad. Fix that thing that's bad. Instead of like kind of pacing yourself a little bit more and understanding like these are the needs that are going to come up here in the, you know, and planning accordingly. Imagine that. And so it's fun. It's gotten me interested in what other city builders are out there. There's one that's called Industry of Titans, which is a sci-fi city builder, but is more from a corporate like business rivalry kind of thing. So like you're out on like the moon of Saturn, right? I think it's called Titan. And you're building this like corporate sci-fi base on it, but then you're also competing with the other corporations for like the resources and stuff like that. So there's a competitive nature to it inherently, but not like person to person. And then there's one on the Epic Store that I couldn't find until I just looked on the Epic Store, but it's called Surviving the Aftermath. And that one looks a lot more Mad Max-y.
Oh, really?
In the sense of like a post-apocalyptic end zone, just looks like the world went nuclear and the premise is that we've been like underground or in bunkers for 300-400 years and now coming out to like repopulate, right? More Fallout, right? After Surviving the Aftermath is more Mad Max, so there's like other competing. You have like more of like a base style builder, and I'm definitely gonna check that out.
I think I've heard those games be called more so like misery simulators. Because typically like it's like that. There was another game called Frostpunk that was like kind of
I want to check that one out. That one looks interesting.
They Are Billions.
The artwork on that one looks beautiful.
Yeah, Frostpunk is one of those games, I believe. It's kind of like Nuclear Winter, I believe. It's civilization. You usually have to like, you find these settlements near like these heat vents from the earth or something along the lines of that. And you're just trying to survive the best you can. I don't know if there's any attacking in that going on as much as you're trying to survive the elements.
Yeah, I don't know if there is a combat element to it, but because I was reading about it, and it's a very unforgiving, like, and it's more scenario driven. So and therefore also there's a narrative, that kind of plays into it. But it's like you have to survive these 3 winters with this amount of resources at the end, and then it's. And by that design, it's then like if you're not making the right moves at the right time, you will fail. So it is. I mentioned earlier puzzles. This is a puzzle. That's kind of like all the artwork has me intrigued, but the concept doesn't. Like I don't like that idea. I don't like that pressure. At all.
Oh, I don't have the patience nor the wherewithal to play most of these games.
But these is so casual for me. I could like have this running in the background. Like Kevin, to your point, like I have this running in the background and I'm like, like I need to build a couple homes.
That's why you like the Total War series as well, right?
Oh, God, yeah. Right, you just hop into a giant epic battle of proportions. Oh,
you know what that's a sign of?
Huh?
So do you know what that's a sign of?
What?
Getting older. You can only play games you can pause.
I know. I don't have the time to sit down for an hour and a half and be like you can't do uninterrupted in parenthood. You know that doesn't really compute in my world. But you young bucks, you guys can enjoy those.
Hey, I'm on track.
You are on track. You are. I'm happy to not be alone in that track anymore.
Well, you shouldn't have gotten started so early.
Anyways,
love you kids, Annie.
Yeah, I love my children. So I mean that's really it. Kevin, you want to talk? I mean, Assassin's Creed Valhalla looks fucking awesome.
Oh, so wait for that game.
I'm so pumped for that.
And it's because there's been so much good Viking media and out there, right? You had Vikings, which was awesome. You got kind of The Last Kingdom on Netflix.
Oh, are you watching that? They just dropped 4 seasons.
Yeah, well, I'm already done. I already
watched. Are you done already? All right. Oh, Uhtred, son of Uhtred. God, I love it. I love that show. I love it.
I mean, Vikings.
Pace myself though.
I was hooked on Vikings the first couple of seasons. I fell off towards after what's his face fell off, and I just like kind of lost interest in it.
Ragnar, right? Yeah.
And this just, I'm super excited about it. I played Odyssey almost all the way through. I completed the main storyline. But yeah, Assassin's Creed is one of my favorites. So
yeah, and I think this one's really going to change like the whole game. Like,
oh really? Is that what they're saying?
think,
or is that what you're expecting?
I think that's what I'm expecting. I think I'm going to see a huge change. Maybe not necessarily in gameplay, but like your characters, like you play this big Viking, right? You're not playing this like more like nimble assassin,
right,
or warrior. You play a Viking, and I think that's going to lend itself or translate to a different style of gameplay. The trailer's fantastic though.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, it might turn, I'm curious. I'm excited to see what more news and media comes out about it. I believe the guy in Game of Thrones, the red-bearded guy. You know who I'm talking about? One of the guys from the north of the wall?
Yeah. I don't know the actor's name, but...
The guy that's got the hots for Brienne.
Yes. I believe he's either in Witcher Season 2 or he's doing the voice of something in this show or in this game.
He's in Witcher Season 2. He could maybe do both. I
mean, he'd be good to do that, right? So... okay, then maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is Witcher Season 2, which
I'm not seeing
checks out
online about Assassin's Creed.
Oh, okay. Well,
the trailer came out a week ago, so they could still announce something. Not that I know of.
It's gonna be cool. I'm really looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
And then I guess on the games, I don't know if we really want to talk about Total War.
But about Spellbreakers, we all downloaded Spellbreakers, and we're going to be playing this.
So I saw something about this game a couple months ago, and it was sort of like a faint, like image of like wizards battling, and I thought the graphics were kind of cool, and I didn't sort of follow down that path to investigate further, but it came up again. And it came up a third time and a fourth, and I was like, okay, and I bid on it, right? And it was this game called Spellbreakers, and it definitely looks like a Fortnite battle arena type of game. I mean, when I say Fortnite, I mean it looks like Fortnite, like artistically. The aesthetic looks like Fortnite. It has a real stylistic art approach. But you play a battle mage. And you're slinging spells, and you're flying around, and it looks totally righteous. I was able to sign up for the beta key. I got the key. I sent it to you guys, and I'm super pumped to play. It looks kind of fun.
It does.
Yeah. So if anything, I mean, it's good for a couple games of Spellbreakers, and I'm excited to play.
Are you still playing Nighthead?
I haven't logged in Nighthead in a while.
It's been in a month.
You used the word, and I agree. It got grindy.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
grindy.
And that's gonna. JoJo never bid on that one. Or you did. You did play a little bit.
I got to like level 17, I think.
Yeah.
I think or maybe 20 or something.
I think I played for like 5 or 6 days, like pretty consistently, and then I don't play on my phone that often.
Me neither. That was one I was excited about because it's really hard for me to find a mobile game to get excited about. But the grind just wore me down. Yeah.
I stayed with it. I got to 30, but there was too many paywalls that you really had to pay through to like make any meaningful progress.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty
annoying. Oh. Well, I mean, usually before I get to those walls, I'm like, I'm gonna drop $5 and like get this really cool axe.
I definitely paid some. I just wasn't willing to keep paying. That was my issue.
Yeah. Keeping paying is sort of a challenge, but it definitely had our interest for a little while. And if you want to get into a mobile game, I would recommend that one, honestly. Like that one's definitely. There aren't any other mobile games that I think are more fun than that. It just it gets exhausting. So I don't know. Anything else on the agenda you guys want to talk about?
I mean, if you want to talk mobile games, the only game that I really do play is a game called Solitairica, which is a solitaire-based, like, you have like classes. It's like it's almost a puzzle game, but it plays. I can't even say it plays similar to Solitaire, but other than there's like cards that you deal with, and it was like $5. I bought it years ago. Like honestly, it's like 2 or 3 years old. Still a game that if I'm sitting at the airport, I'll play. It is like a really fun time killer. You're not working. There's no in-app purchases except for like a DLC that they released with more classes, but it has none of the trappings of a normal phone game.
Solitairica? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'll
check it out.
Yeah, it's really fun.
I'd like to play something almost competitive, like just even like Words with Friends. I miss playing some of those kinds of games with people.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Are you playing anything like that?
Christy just had us download something called like Evil something. Evil Apple, and it's supposed to be like a party game that is effectively what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my dad asked if there was like a party game that we could play. And I was like, I want to play like Secret Hitler with my dad. I think that'd be hilarious. But like, it seems like some of those games, the social deduction type of games, those games should be able to be ported to mobile pretty easily. And I'm surprised that hasn't really happened yet.
You sure that's not out there?
Well, like there's a tabletop simulator. JoJo, you have more experience with that than I do. You've been playing like Dice Throne with Dave and stuff, and that's really cool.
It's not as intuitive where I would recommend it for like to play with your family unless they're fluent with like a way around the keyboard type of thing. And even then, like some of my friends, we hopped on it, and Dice Throne had a learning curve. They did take care of some of the rules for us, but there was a lot of it where it just like it's one of those things that you just sit there and like, I'm just going to roll my own die. I'm not going to deal with any of the virtual dice because it just doesn't feel good. And we'll play the honor system because me and Dave are just close enough friends where it doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah.
But if you're looking for party games, I mean, honestly, the Jackbox series, you can pick up a pack. Your family all tunes in to their phone. Like I put it on I have it on Steam, so I just plug my laptop via HDMI and then play it on the television. But people just play on their phones.
No,
they log into a little friend code. I think there's like 6 or 7 packs, and they go on sale all the time. But it's just like a bunch of party mini games, and you guys can all just have like just as long as you take it as seriously as you want.
Well, like I can see where some of the social deduction games like Secret Hitler or Growl, like there's a you kind of have to be face to face with people. I have to be able to like look you in the eye and be like, Kevin, you lying to me? You know?
No.
There's that, right? Are you bluffing? You bluffing. But other games, for instance, we played where even Cards Against Humanity, right? Like you can play that in a group on a mobile. And there doesn't necessarily need to be that like person-to-person visual element that is important in some of those social deduction games.
Well, I think that's what this Evil Apple game is.
Is it
to simulate Cards Against Humanity? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because there's like so many other types of games in that that are similar, where like you had to do like a movie script, or not a script, but like a headline, and or like we did like a fighter one. We did even like Trial by Trolley, JoJo. We did that one. Mm-hmm. Those are all set games that wouldn't necessarily need to be, again, person to person, but hopefully some cool content will come out and we can play them.
Yeah, I'd love to. You were talking about Dice Thrones on the tabletop simulator, but hearing JoJo explain it makes me not want to play it.
Makes me just like want to like hang out and play.
Yeah,
it's a free mod. It's definitely worth the look. It took Dave and I 2 games to really get the feel of like the flow of it. Yeah. And to understand, like there's things in Tabletop Simulator that you can do that, like I blew up the character sheet to be like half the table, so I could just read the text without having to like zoom in and stuff like that. You know?
Yeah.
Well,
is that
I think that's it.
All right. Yeah, this was a good one. This was a long one.
Was it? Where we at?
I don't know. It felt long.
I feel like you're tired.
I'm tired, but
yeah.
Well, I enjoyed having JoJo on.
Totally.
First guest helped us.
Our first guest. I think that is commemorative and awesome, and I honor JoJo for joining us.
Gonna go down in nerd history.
Totally.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was fun.
Totally. Well, anyways, Kevin and I and JoJo and I, we all are thankful that you guys have been listening to the show and catch us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and
Spotify.
Spotify is where we want you to listen to our stuff. Listen to us on Spotify.
We're on Spotify. Hold on, let me.
Not everybody has Spotify though, because does Apple have podcasts? I mean, yeah, Apple.
Yeah, that's where we're at mainly.
That's where I listen to you guys mainly.
I know, but I've moved to Spotify for everything.
I'll switch to Spotify.
But Spotify is, well, it's all great. It's all, if you guys want us to talk about something, hit us up. We'd love to engage in conversation, and you can ask any of us anything. We'd love to partake. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll check with you guys back in June. Crazy.
We have to do something sooner than that.
Yeah, let's do it.
We could do, but we'd have to have something to talk.
We can record us playing a spell break.
Yeah, let's get down on that. I'm down. So, all right, guys.
Do some
thanks. Huh?
What? Frankie doesn't know those words.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll check. We'll see you next time. All right, bye.
Later.